Audio speed.
Brett, number 9.
Well, good day. Welcome to another episode of Be Kinetic. And I've used this word so many times, I'm excited because the notion of kinetic is going forward, is making changes, is having this energy. And in our episode 7, where I talked around demystifying empowerment, I would like to kind of touch base on that one again. And if you recall, I used the analogy of a soccer field, and basically is that a coach, and in our context, the leader, first would pick the players and then would take them away, and there'd be something of this training and preparing them for the match and looking at the strategy, what is the vision, how they're going to win the match, is that he would then provide all the necessary tools, soccer ball and the kit and all those goodies that go with playing soccer. And then when they organize the match, is the leader, the coach, would change positions, is he would get off the field. And so I really want to encourage you, if you missed that session, is to go back and look at the dynamics of what it means to empower, creating this environment where people can flourish and basically is bring their part to their responsibility. Now, if you haven't read the book, I would really encourage you. Dr. Arnold Mol has this book out called Winners in the Workplace. It's also in an Afrikaans version, Wenners in die Werkplek. And what a powerful, user-friendly, just got so many great points on how to be a more effective leader. And I would like to leverage off that book. And there was a couple of points that Dr. Mol used that have really helped me when it comes to how can I, in a very practical way, be more empowering, that you're not just, anything goes, but that you are setting the stage not only for the success of your people, but also for your success, that you know in the job is going to get done. So his first point went around the understanding of leaders showing the big picture. Is people need to understand where do they fall in, what decisions are they making, and what will the impact be, not only for their jobs, but within the larger organization. So when people have clarity of the dynamics in which they are working in, is that when things don't go according to plan, or when there's changes, or when there's some challenges, is they can still make quality decisions because they know the impact that it's going to have within the bigger context. And so it's so critical for us as leaders to constantly be sharing what is the vision, what is the goal, what is the bigger picture, in a way that people understand it clearly, that there's great clarity around that. The second is clarifying roles and expectations. I'm surprised that how many people I interact with is while they have a job description, there's something of you need to do this, it's not clear. There's just certain elements, particularly when it comes to the KPIs, that are vague. There's just do this job, you are the secretary or you are the supervisor, but they don't know what is a win. So let's say you are the goalie, obviously scoring goals is not part of your responsibility. And so there's something of, what does it mean to be a good goalie? How do you know that you have won the game from your perspective? And so it's so critical that leaders come along and say, this is your role, because using the soccer analogy is not everyone can be the goalie, not everyone can be the center forward, not everyone can be the wing, and each role has different expectations, has different responsibilities. And so whether you are someone that is cleaning the room to being the CEO, is what is your role? What is the expectation? What is the win when it comes to that person? And so as leaders, we not only want to share the bigger picture, is we want to define this is your role, and these are the expectations when it comes to your role. And the third one has to do with decision-making ability. And I think this is fundamental when it comes to the notion of empowerment, is that if I do not have the ability to decide, I am simply doing a task. The ability, the right, the opportunity to decide makes that empowerment. Dr. Mol gave a brilliant example in his book, is that he had a garden worker that was obviously responsible for keeping his lawn neat and making sure that the flowers were watered and everything that goes into the upkeep of a garden. And over the years, is eventually the lawnmower had come to the end of its days. And so what he did is that he drove down and he went to Macro, I can't remember the exact store, and he took the gentleman with him. And so he goes into the store and he says, listen, I'm going to go buy some goodies, and won't you pick out a lawnmower? Now, I think there was something of the surprise from the garden worker, because at no other person was he allowed to pick the lawnmower. But there's something of that dynamic, because Dr. Mole is not the one who's going to be using the lawnmower. This gentleman is. And so there's something of, I empower you to make the decision on which lawnmower you want. And so what did he do is he found one of those nice little tractors that you drive in, and Dr. Mole had to say, no, look, there's a budget. So as long as you're within the budget, you can feel free to pick whatever you need. And so anyway, he chose a certain lawnmower, and they go home, and it just happened to be that after a couple of weeks is that the neighbor saw the new lawnmower. And so, he phones Dr. Mole and says, listen, would you mind if I use the lawnmower? To which Dr. Mole's response was very fascinating for me. He says, you know what? I need to first ask, and again, forgive me, I don't know what the gentleman's name was. I first need to ask Jack. And the neighbor was really confused, because it's Dr. Mole's lawnmower. And he's going, no, it's not. It happens to be Jack's. Why? Because Jack is the one that is using it. And so he says, well, I'll ask Jack. And so he goes to Jack and he says, listen, can my neighbor use the lawnmower? And guess what Jack says? No. So now there's this awkwardness, because he's got to go back to the neighbor and says, listen, I'm sorry, but Jack says no. And so there's this little bit of tension in the scenario. So what happens is Dr. Mole goes back to Jack and says, listen, I like my neighbor. I really want to help him out. Would you mind lending him the lawnmower? Now, again, if he said no, Dr. Mole would have backed him. He said, if you choose no, that's your decision. But what he did is, his response was for me also very interesting. He says, I will not lend him the lawnmower, but if it's so important to you, Dr. Mole, is I will go over and cut it myself, but I will not allow someone else to use my lawnmower. And isn't that fantastic? That's where we want to be, is that there's something of this ownership, something of this pride to go, I'm in control of the lawnmower. Why? Because it's my responsibility. It's my garden. Now, at one stage, Dr. Mole had to relocate. Guess where the lawnmower went? It didn't stay with Jack. It went to Dr. Mole's. Why? Because it is actually his. But by empowering Jack, and I'm just using that name, there's something of saying, I give you the decision making on how you're going to use the lawnmower, which one you're going to pick. But if you break it, if something goes wrong, I'm going to hold you responsible for that. And so there's something of, are we allowing people to pick? Are we giving them the opportunity to choose how to do it? And if we're not, they're simply just fulfilling instructions. And so the dynamic that comes with that is, if they choose, then I can also hold them accountable. I can also say, you chose to do it this way, and how's that working? Now, also part of this story, and it's also essential for us as empowering leaders, is we need to give people the resources to be successful. So there's no ways that this gentleman, Jack, he couldn't keep the lawn clean if he doesn't have a spade, if he doesn't have a fork, if he doesn't have, the right fertilizer and the lawn mower. And so it's so critical is that, do your people have the equipment, the tools, the resources they need in order to do their jobs effectively? One of the other dynamics where it comes to being an empowering leader is that we need to support people's decisions. So just as Dr. Mole supported Jack's decision when he said no, is that when people come up with ideas, say, I think this is how we should do it, or have we considered this, or, because this isn't with my responsibility, I'm going to go this way. And it's fundamental that we back those decisions, because when we don't back these decisions, is what we're telling people, they must just follow our orders. They must just do what we tell them to do. And that's okay if you want to have that approach, but then we need to understand is that we're taking a management and autocratic approach, and that's not empowerment. And here's the real difficulty, is that we should even support the bad decisions, even decisions that we know more than likely will go wrong. Now, two things come into play here. The first is that when I make a decision, is I'm going to do everything in my ability to make it work, even if it's a bad decision. And so there's something about, I believe in you, and I'm not sure about your decision, but I'm going to back you anyway, because I have this confidence that if I empower you, is you're going to make everything within your ability to make this thing work. Second of all, is even if it is a bad decision and it doesn't work out, and I step in and I cut it down, is guess what? The next time, you won't make that decision. And so I would rather empower someone, they make a bad decision, it doesn't work out the way in which we wanted to, but we learn from it, we change the dynamics, and we do something the next time in a new way, and we hit the ball out of the park. Why? Because I'm teaching a lesson, is I'm going to back you even when things go wrong, even when it's not the best decision, because I want you to be responsible, I want you to be in control. Then the second last one for me, which again ties to this, that these are all interlinked, is the necessity of ongoing communication. Is that we constantly need to be communicating our expectation, constantly asking, is this the right way? And it must be a two ways, that when people have made this decision, is that they can come and go, I'm not sure if this is going to work, or maybe expectations have changed, or the dynamics are changed, or maybe I no longer have the resources, the lawnmower needs some more petrol, or whatever it might be, is that we're constantly talking with one another to make sure that we are going to win the game, that we're going to achieve the results that we're looking for. And then lastly, is it's so basic, but yet for some reason is so often ignored, is we want to appreciate people. When people give their best, when people take up responsibility, and we say, thank you, I appreciate that, there's something about, I want to repeat it. And there is a principle, is what is celebrated, what is acknowledged, gets repeated. And so when people do the right thing, is are we going, excellent job, keep it up, I respect you, I appreciate you. And even, and again, this is the difficult one, is that when someone makes a mistake, but they try and they're giving their all, do we come and celebrate that and say, you know what, I celebrate your effort. We're going to fix the mistake. We're going to put in some changes. I'm going to come and give you some assistance. But you know what? It's that type of commitment. It's that type of attitude that we are looking for. So I hope that these points give you something to help you, some practical tips of how you can be a far more effective leader. And again, as we go through the next months, is we're going to look at other ways of how we can sharpen, how we can be more effective as an empowering leader. Until next time, be kinetic.